How come most startups fail, even when we have more tactics and strategies than ever before? Join the bedside chat of an entrepreneurial couple as they share what it takes to create a business with ease and in flow.
Hello there, here's Natasha Koo.
And Jachym Jerie.
Welcome to the 4th episode of the Biz in Flow bedside chat. So it's another evening.
I'm tired.
Yeah, Jachym's ready for bed. But it's a Saturday today.
Sunday.
No, Sunday. Oh my goodness, you guys, we are out of it. But yeah, it's a different type of workday, I must say, that we had.
Yeah, I felt very sluggish today. Couldn't quite get a lot of stuff done. Not much energy today.
Nor did you really set up for a day of work, to be honest.
What do you mean by that?
Like you had a clear to-do list in front of you and everything was ready to go and it was in your calendar and...
It was, really?
I said it wasn't.
Oh yeah, I never do that.
You weren't set up for, a full day's worth of work.
Yeah, very true. And what about you? How was your day?
Yeah, we got stuck on the workshop that we want to hold, right? So first we thought that we want to call it from fight to flow, meaning you go from that place of inner resistance, that tug of war, and I guess the difficult feelings as you try to do something, and then trying to actually tap into the flow, to effortless ease of getting things done. So we were talking about the workshop, and I was feeling a bit not so confident about it because it's been a while since I've worked in person and in front of a group of people, speaking, teaching. I don't see myself as a teacher, so it almost made me uncomfortable to imagine myself in that situation. Like, I have no issue with one-on-one work or even like closed group work, but that felt a bit strange. Like, I feel really rusty, like I've forgotten how that works.
How did you deal with that then?
Well, you helped me out a little bit in trying to figure out, like, what is the problem? Is there really a problem? And that helped me to realize that actually I was just quite insecure from my thinking. So these doubts and this fear was coming up of, okay, do I really know my stuff? Am I really qualified to do it? And upon reflecting, yes, I am. But it's just all these thoughts popping up in my head and me believing that, yeah, I should feel insecure about it.
So then once you kind of realized that you are qualified and all that, did then the insecurities go, or how did that play out?
Yeah, I felt a lot better about it. Doesn't mean that I'm completely comfortable, because it's still something I haven't done in a long time. But I realized that, I've had those experiences. I have experiences. I share it with my one-on-one clients, so why can't I do it within a group? So it's more of the setting of me standing at the front of the room and like sharing what I feel is true or right. That makes me still a bit like uncomfortable because I feel like then I have to justify everything. Like there's only my way or the highway. Because when I coach with people, it's really not like that.
Yeah, but I don't see group work as that either. I see it more as something that where you just share. And people can either take it or they can leave it. There's many ways. Some teachers, they will contradict each other. And that doesn't mean that what they're sharing is not valuable.
Yeah.
And it's just what you have discovered on your path.
Yeah. Well, it was also interesting because we're diving deep into, I guess, the type of work that I do here and the difference between one-on-one work and group work, especially of just cold leads, people who are new to you, who are with you for the first time. I realized in this conversation now with you, Jachym, that the people who I have my discovery calls with, the people who I build relationships with and eventually maybe pitch to or sell to, these people have consumed my content. They know what I'm about. They buy it. They trust it. They know me. And it's as if I'm not trying to do any convincing at all. Well, when it's to a completely cold crowd, I'm almost as if I'm starting from scratch, and I feel like I need to make sense and be logical and almost please the mind, which a lot of what I do is not very pleasing to the mind. It feels right, but it might not make complete sense.
Yeah, but they're not completely cold because they read the title of the workshop, they read the description of it, and only if they resonate with that, then they actually come and go for the workshop. So it's not like a complete stranger on the street that you're suddenly talking about this stuff. I guess, that's just another little thing that I think lots of people and entrepreneurs kind of struggle with, is the self-doubt and whether you can do it or not. And so I think it's very normal that this can show up in our journey as well, and to share it with people of how you have dealt with it and how we keep dealing with it if it does show up.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the main thing here is that I don't deal with a lot of haters closely or much at all, because with the people who I actually engage with and have conversations with, we're here to do some good work. And I not spent much energy or time at all dealing with people who don't get it or who are trying to refute what I'm doing or argue, that kind of thing.
So is that the picture that you have of a workshop?
Yeah, I feel like I should be confident enough, so sure in what I am teaching and sharing, that someone could just machine gun me with all that objections, and I should be able to ninja, defend myself every single bullet.
Yeah, I used to have that fear as well. I remember that when I was learning about some of the things that I know now, and I saw a teacher of mine being on the front, and he was being bombarded by questions. I was like, oh my god, I'm glad I'm not up there, because I felt like I wouldn't have been able to handle it. But nowadays that has kind of disappeared. So I think it comes with experience, and it comes with your understanding of what you're actually sharing and the merits of it, because it has merits, and that's all that is needed. But we're not in a scientific kind of setting where everything has to be super precise or anything like that, because it's about human beings, and we all have differences and different ways of functioning and perceiving. So I don't see this strict, really.
Never thought it was going to be strict, but just the format's a bit formal.
Well, we can make the format as however we want to make it.
That's true. I also realized something about which I shared yesterday about hiring and walking separate ways with the lady who was ready to do Facebook ads for me. I also realized that there are differences in personality, and sometimes that can not fit very well. And also, for me, I have a very specific type of communication style when it comes to work. I'm really, really brutally honest. I'm still very respectful and kind, but I'm extremely honest. And being a life coach, I'm so sensitive to what the person is feeling emotionally, what's going on with them, more than just the words. I feel on a much deeper level. And if I ever sense that something is off, or they're not telling me the whole truth, or that, there's something more to it, or the energy has a bit of friction, I really want to talk about it. I want to deal with it, because I know that people are people. Employees are actually people, not just machines, right? And so I always like to, I don't know if it's too much, but I like to get to the bottom of things. I want to make sure that, if there's a misunderstanding coming up, well, let's talk about it so that it doesn't blow up in our faces like later. Or if there's, a misunderstanding, or there's actually resentment in someone's heart, that kind of thing. So I always like to hold this space so people can actually speak up and be really honest, and then kind of have that kind of relationship, because I find that kind of relationship could lead to a much longer kind of relation and work together and collaboration, much more trust, much more transparency, that kind of thing. And I realized that, not everyone is suited for that. Not everyone is willing or comfortable with sharing that much, or even, courageous or comfortable enough to say that's how they feel to someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very true. And I think you mentioned something really important that lots of people forget about, and that is that business happens in relationships, whether business relationships or whatever, but they happen in relationships. And so relationships are hugely important for building a business that is sustainable. And when it comes to the business that we are in, which is helping people, coaching people, that's even more important, because people are opening up to very personal and important parts of their lives.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I guess for me, why I even want to take that approach is because I respect people as actual people. Like, I understand, and I hold a great deal of empathy if someone's going through something in their personal life, or I accept the fact that people have good days and bad days.
Mm-hmm.
So I welcome that into the conversation, because we're different each day, and the more we know about what's going on, the more we're able to really work together and know how to deal with each other best. At least that's what I think. But I really honestly believe that this management style, or the way in which I want to hire people or have conversations within our team, that takes the next level of awareness, right? If someone is not ready for that, if they're not even comfortable feeling emotions within themselves, then there's no way that they would fit into this kind of environment, right? It would be too much energy. It's something additional. It's like, oh, it's pointless or whatever. But I find it to be really valuable. So I guess, I don't know, because I didn't really talk to you about this, about Biz and Flow and what that represents, because this is my work in my own coaching brand, which this kind of relationship happened in. But it also begs the question of, how do we want to treat our, freelancers and employees, and who do we want to hire? Who do we want to hire, and what level of awareness, or, even emotional awareness?
Yeah. I think, that's an important question, and we probably will go through different kinds of iterations of it. I do know that most likely the important part is that we can just be honest with those kind of people, and that it is in the end a win-win situation. Because if you're exploiting people for things, then it really, it's not just something that I don't find very ethical, and I don't want to be involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, the less, I guess, emotional maturity we have, or the less comfortable we are with our own emotions and our own inner workings, right? Our past traumas, or your whatever beliefs you have, the more likely that miscommunication will happen. There'll be so many things that will, say you bring up money, or you bring up a certain topic, then it becomes a sensitive issue, but no one realizes, right? If you don't openly communicate that, then it becomes almost like a landmine. And that makes it really difficult in a workplace, or just relationships in general. So I think actually individually, the better we know ourselves, and the better we're able to communicate that, connect to others with this deep understanding, the better we can actually work together. Because, we're all human and we have all those the little aspects of your life, right? The special topics that are kind of like, don't go there. But in working relationships, and if things go a certain way, maybe you have to talk about that. And then what, right?
Yeah, and I think it's very good that you bring up this point of the inner workings and how there's different topics that might be more difficult to handle for certain people, because that's exactly what most people miss out. They're so busy on the outside and trying to create the business and doing X, Y, Z, or if they're an employee, it doesn't really matter, but we're always focusing on the outside, focusing on our people, focusing on creating. We actually forget that the most important part is actually the inner game, because if we can handle the inner stuff, like if we are not as much emotionally triggered anymore by money, for example, we're gonna have a complete different playing field that we can go out and do things with. The same thing with human beings. If you have some kind of fear of other people, you're going to be severely more limited in the range of things that you can do and actions and communications that you can do with people than when you don't have that. And so being aware of those things within you and taking care of them is a game changer for how you can create your business and your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in what you're saying. For example, for me, something I dealt with a lot is feeling worthy, feeling lovable, feeling good about myself. And as I put my brand out there at the very beginning, every single thing that someone liked or didn't like, everything that received positive feedback or no feedback at all, I would take that really personally, and I would act almost irrationally because everything meant something. And that was due to my own insecurity. And if I didn't resolve that part of me, it was going to be a tough journey as a business owner. And I'd probably be also someone really difficult to work with too, because if someone else messed up, then I would think that reflects upon me. And everyone else's mistake is somehow then on my back. So I really do agree with you that the more I actually have less of those sensitive topics and resistance and just icky feelings about certain topics, the better things actually work out, because I'm able to put my head down, do it without the distraction of like the voices in my head narrating, like giving more meaning to every single little task that I do. It's pretty complicated if you have that voice in your head.
Yeah, you can't be in flow that way.
No, yeah, it gets really difficult.
Yeah, and so that's why with the biz in flow, that's actually the aspect that we want to focus at, is the whole inner game, because there's so many strategies and techniques and tips and whatever out there. But if you don't master the inner game, you are kind of screwed, because you got to be always careful. Oh, right, I can't go here because that's going to hurt me or trigger me or make me angry or whatever. So you're always on the lookout. There's no way you can be in flow if you are in this kind of state.
Yeah, and the best thing, maybe the worst thing about businesses is that they are so all-encompassing, which means it's going to touch on the topics of relationships. You're going to have to deal with people. It's going to touch on the topic of money, which many of us, it's quite a difficult one, because we in general as a society do not have a healthy relationship with that one. And then it's going to deal with trust, right? It has to deal with your relationship with yourself, right? And representing that into the world. So it just goes on and on and on. It has to do with, control. Like, you don't know the future, you can only do your best now. So business really can screw up a lot of people in their heads, and it can become so difficult because it's really all encompassing. It's like this ultimate boot camp to grow as a person, but of course, make the money, get the value out there, touch people, impact people. But at the same time, that's why many of us, or a lot of people, give up Because something, if you have issues, or if some of these topics are really sticky, you gotta go to work and you gotta take a look at them. You're deep in it, right? You can't avoid it. It's a part of your business. You can't just hide from that. So it's a big reality check.
It is, and you can decide whether you look at that and make your life easier now, or whether you might go through some struggle and some banging your head against different things before you drop certain things. So choice is really yours.
Yeah, I guess what you're trying to say here is that no matter how hard things are, as we have experienced and seen our clients do, it's possible for things to be much easier than it currently is to you. It doesn't have to be so complicated or just difficult, right? Like impossible. It absolutely can be much more in flow, much more at ease. So I think that's a good place to end for today.
Yeah, I think so too.
So good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at our bedside again.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.